Should you wait to buy a house or sell a house closer to the end of 2024 when the interest rates are projected to be much lower? We're going to talk about that today. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, Catherine Newman here. First of all, I want to say thanks so much for tuning in and calling me with these questions that you guys often do. I've had a lot of conversations with you, having a lot of great fun talking about where you're coming from, what your plans are, and that sort of thing. And a lot of you are calling to find out what's the best time for you to buy a home, what's the best time to sell a home, basically because of the kind of market that we are in right now. So I really appreciate you tuning in to hear about this so we can kind of discuss, can you time the market? And what's the best time for you as a buyer and what's the best time for you as a seller? And before we do, I'd love for you to please like this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel so I can keep this information coming at you. So let's talk about those of you that are thinking about buying a home. We'll talk about sellers in a few minutes, but let's talk about buying first. So there are several reasons why you might need to buy right now. And what do I mean by that? Well, some people are relocating. They've got a new job. They've got to go to a new place. There are other people that need to downsize. They don't want to continue paying a heating bill and a cooling bill for a larger home. They want something smaller. There are those of you that your family is growing. You're adding people. You're adding to a population. You're getting out there and getting it done. You're growing your family and you need more space. And of course, there are those of you that have maybe parents moving in with you. Maybe you still have grown kids that are coming back home for a little while because they want to save money to be able to afford something for themselves. So there's lots of reasons why people need to move. There are those of you that are moving here because you're going to retire in 5, 6, 7 years. You want to take advantage of the pricing that we have right now on homes because in 4, 5, 6, 7 years, prices are going to be a lot higher. And even if the rates are better, the prices are still going to be higher. So you want to buy something now, maybe enjoy it while you're waiting for retirement to come down here and visit and that sort of thing.
I would buy now, regardless of interest rates. Here's what I don't know 12 to 24 months from now. I don't know what interest rates will be. I do know house prices will have gone up 7 to 8% a year during that time.
Of course, there are others that are investing in a property. Maybe you want to rent it for a while. You want to have a renter in there, and then you want to come down and retire here, or you just want a good investment property because Florida always needs rental properties. And of course, let's not forget those of you that you're in a situation where you can work from home. So you thought, hey, I just want to go somewhere where it's close to the beach, where the weather is warm, where it's summertime all year round. And so that's why you are looking at the state of Florida. Let's not forget those of you that want to stop paying rent because rents are pretty high too. And you've been saving and you really are thinking about buying a home, maybe for the first time, or maybe a move-up home. Those are things that we talk about when you guys give me a call. I always make sure I know, where are you in your journey? Where are you with your finances? What is your end goal? What are you trying to attain? And then we talk about really what is the best strategy for you if you're thinking about buying a home. And what is the best strategy to begin with when you want to make any large purchase, especially the largest purchase of most of our lives, which would be buying a home. You want to gain as much knowledge about whatever local market you're looking in. And you also want to know as much data as you can so that you can make an informed decision that fits your family, that fits your budget, and that fits your timeline. So let's first talk about, is now the best time? And I always talk with people about the best time for you to make any big purchase in your life, even if it's just a car, is when it's right for you. So please don't worry about all of the other news you're hearing. A lot of people are afraid, they have FOMO, the fear of missing out. They don't want to miss any good deals, but there's always going to be deals in every market There's no way for you or I to really time that out. We can look at the data, we can look at trends, we can look what the experts are saying, which we're going to do today. We're going to look at that data and what the predictions are for now and the rest of the year. But really, the best time for you to buy a home and even to sell a home is when that time is right for you. And did it The reason I want to reiterate that over and over and over is because, you know, real estate agents are notoriously known for sometimes giving that impression that you're going to really miss out on something great if you don't make a move right now, right? Like being in the sales office of the car salesman. And I'm not saying they all do it, and certainly not all agents do it. I know I don't do it. But sometimes you might have the impression that you're being pushed to do something, or you're just a dum-dum.
Don't talk down to me. Don't you ever talk down to me.
And that is not the case. You're not a dum-dum. You really need to have peace, I think, in your own heart and your own mind about when you're ready to make that move. Are you ready with your finances? Do you have a down payment saved? Do you have enough reserves in your checking account, your savings account? How is your credit score? What is your situation like with your kids? Do they need to finish school? Do they need to start in a new school? There's so many factors to consider, and what's best for you is not best for anybody but you. I just want you to chill out, because timing is all about where you are, where your finances are, what your circumstance and situation is. So don't worry about whether or not you're going to miss out on something. Yes, there are opportunities. I've missed out on opportunities I should have taken. You're going to do that the rest of your life. I'm going to do it the rest of our life. That is called life. Don't freak out about all of that stuff. What are some things that you can think about as a buyer as you're trying to do the best timing that you can? So I think the first thing you can do to help you as far as getting the information so that you can make that informed decision on whether or not it's time for you to buy a home right now is for us to talk about, well, where are rates headed? What are the projections for what the interest rates are going to be for the rest of 2024? And you've already seen that when they were at their highest back, and I believe it was about October, November of last year, 2023, about 8%, sometimes a little over 8%, depending on credit score and that sort of thing. People just, the brakes went on, people decided to stop, and rightly so. They weren't interested in buying, they wanted to wait for those rates to come down. Makes total sense. Then by the end of the year, we started to see them coming down to the 7s or whatever. And right now, we've even seen them come down under 7 in the high 6s. I think today, this is a Friday. It's kind of typical. Sometimes it's looking like it's about 7%. So where are the rates headed for 2024? So let's look at this chart here, where, of course, a lot of the experts are forecasting new projections for where the rates are going to be. So what were the financial analysts and the real estate experts across our country saying at the end of 2023? If you look in the middle here, so it'll say December. This is what they were saying the projected interest rate would be for the housing market in the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, and the fourth quarter. Well, as you see in January, they revised their prediction and their projections for what the rates would be for the rest of 2024 based on the current data that's coming in over the last 2 months. They've seen some changes and some good changes with unemployment and that sort of thing. So now you can see their revised projections for where they believe the rate will be by the fourth quarter of 2024. Hopefully this is true, but let's see what the experts are saying along this line.
Where are mortgage rates going? Please, Bess, tell us they're going to go down.
Yeah, I mean, look, You and I both know that mortgage rates are still historically low. It's just that everyone has their mind wrapped around the 2 and 3%, but those days are over. And I don't think anyone would tell you that they're coming back anytime soon. And I think we have to get adjusted to the fact that a 6%, 30-year, 7% is probably where we're going to be for some time.
When the 10-year Treasury yield dipped below 4%, we saw the rates immediately drop from 8% at the top end for a 30-year all the way down to the mid-sixes. And I think it's going to continue. And I think that's going to spur a lot of movement back into sale markets.
Okay. And the second aspect that you need to pay attention to is, of course, inventory levels of homes for sale on the market. So supply levels of inventory on the market for sale is one of the biggest indicators of where a real estate market is going to head. Do you have a lot of homes on the market? Do you have very few homes on the market? That is something you need to know for whatever area it is that you're wanting to move. If we look at this graph here, we'll see that a normal market is about 5.5 to 6 months worth of inventory. So I know where we are right now in Manatee and Sarasota counties, we are still under that 5 month. As a matter of fact, let's look at Sarasota County and Manatee County to look at the numbers for where we are with inventory. So let's look here, just at the lower level here, we're talking about month supply of inventory of homes for sale on the market in Sarasota County. We're looking over here at single family on the left side. We are now, as of last month, of course, it's year over year change, 4.9 months worth of inventory. So people were really, really close in Sarasota to being at a normal market for inventory. Now, if you look on the condo side, you can see we're right at 6.2 months. So that is considered a neutral or normal market for condos in Sarasota. Well, let's cross the border into Manatee County and see what's going on with inventory levels. Over here on the left, you'll see at the bottom there that there's 3.9 months worth of inventory. So in Manatee County, we are still, believe it or not, considered a seller's market, even though there's a lot more building going on. But we're still at 3.9 months of inventory. So we are still under that neutral market. And for condos, we are actually in more of a neutral market, 5.6 months worth of condo homes for sale. So it's kind of different from Sarasota to Manatee. So this is something to keep in mind when you are looking to time your perfect move. And of course, the good news is we have seen a really big increase of inventory of homes since the unicorn years of the pandemic. And of course, when there was nothing on the market and people were sometimes buying stuff they didn't even like.
What have I done?
But they needed a place to live. So yes, there were some of those people that bought stuff. They had buyer's remorse now, but it is what it is. We are past that pandemic unicorn years now, and we're starting to see inventory levels come back up. And of course, increased inventory levels are great news for buyers because you have more options and sellers have to be more realistic about their pricing. And they also have to be more realistic of the fact that buyers not only have resale homes to choose from, but they have a lot of new construction inventory homes from which to choose. And of course, as we've talked about before, builders are offering really great incentives for buyers to choose them over resale. So for buyers, increased inventory gives you many more options than you had 2 or 3 years ago. And then of course, the third thing you need to consider if you're trying to time the best time for you to buy a home is to think about where prices are headed. Now, nationally, there are several markets that still have climbing prices. I would say for right here in Manatee and Sarasota counties, we have seen more of a moderating of pricing. So let's start with where prices are right now in Sarasota County, and this is year over year compared to January of 2023. This is January of 2024. You can see here on the left that single family homes, there was an increase in closed sales from January of last year to January of this year. It was up 18.5%. And let's look at that median price there, boys and girls. It is at $535,000, and that is up. Yep, I said up 16.3% year over year. So we are seeing this price go up. And the same is true for condos. The price is up, but not very much. However, the closed sales for condos is now less than it was this time last year. And looking at Manatee County, the same month, January 2023 compared to January 2024, single family closed sales, they are up 10.9%, and the median price is up 3.8% at $525,000. And then on condos for Manatee County, we're seeing that price increase to $357,990. That's 3.8% increase, and we're seeing an 8.8% increase in closed sales. So we are seeing the prices still increase from January of last year, 23, to this year, January 24. Now, we'll see where that goes for the rest of the year. And yes, we are seeing some of the builders, of course, decrease their inventory prices, but that doesn't mean overall, when you take all of the homes that have closed, we're still seeing an increase in home prices in the median price range. And I think that's true for resale sellers too. A lot of you that are on my MLS feeds, and you're seeing homes that come to you on the email and on a daily basis that meet your criteria after we've talked on the phone and that sort of thing, you're noticing price decrease, price decrease, price decrease. But a lot of you have commented and called me, text me, whatever, and you're saying, hey, we're seeing a few of those prices increase. And that is true. Again, that's a lot of the new construction homes where they're testing the market. If they're getting a lot of foot traffic, a lot of people coming in to the model homes and they're selling homes, then of course they're going to raise the price, wouldn't you? Of course, there are the experts in all things real estate and all things financial across the country who have changed their prediction on where housing prices would be for 2024. They've actually increased what they thought pricing was going to do because they're starting to see a trend of prices going up. So let's look at this graph here. So it's pretty interesting to see right here the 2024 forecast going back to what they were saying in November, just a few months ago, 2023, versus what they're saying now. And of course, you're like, well, why are they saying something different? Well, they've seen the last 2 months, they've paid attention to Mr. Jerome Powell and watching the Federal Reserve. They're watching all of the inventory levels across the country. They're getting data from different real estate companies. And of course, they're looking at projections for price and inventory levels, and of course, the interest rates. So all of that stuff is playing into the fact that now their current forecast for how home prices are going to increase, well, you can see the different people, Goldman Sachs, Mortgage Bankers of America, Zillow, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Home Price Expectations Survey, and of course, the National Association of Realtors, all have increased their projection for how prices are going to continue to increase throughout 2024. So if you're a buyer and you want to find a home and you're wondering if now might be the time, well, those are things you need to think about and discuss with your real estate professional, because the inventory levels very much matter. Of course, that's the old economics, right? Supply and demand. The more supply there is, prices go down. The less supply you have, the prices go up. That is just basic economics. So if you're that buyer and you're curious about when the best time is for you to buy something, you need to think about, of course, where the rates are headed. We just talked about that. What are the inventory levels for the area in which I want to live? And of course, what are the price projections for that area? Now, on the vein of inventory, we also have to think about why there are so many new construction homes versus resale homes on the market. Of course, that's an easy answer. It's because a lot of sellers are put into a situation right now that we call the lock-in effect, right? They bought their home several years ago when the rates were much lower. Rates were 3%, 4%, sometimes even lower than 3%. And why would they give up that wonderfully low rate to move up or move down into something that's going to give them a 7% rate? So because of that, a lot of those sellers are kind of staying put. They're not doing anything, and that makes total sense. I know I probably would do the same unless they have to be somewhere, like the circumstances we talked about earlier in the video. You know, they've had a job change, they need to move, they want to be closer to family, blah, blah, blah. So let's talk about sellers for just a few seconds here. If you are a seller, you definitely want to pay attention to inventory levels, because if you start to see that there is 5.5 months worth or more homes for sale on the market, then you're not going to get as much for your home. So you want to be thinking about anything under that, anything under 5 months, 4 months, 3 months worth of inventory, all of that. That is still a good time for sellers to realize the most profit for their home. You need to also be thinking about, of course, where rates are headed, like we talked about with buyers, and what the pricing will be, because those things all play together. All three of those things, rates, inventory, prices, all have an effect on what you can make as a seller as a profit on your home. So if you time the market and you put your house on the market when the inventory levels are lower, like they kind of are right now, and you pay attention to the fact that the rates are projected to go down, and if we lump all of you guys together, buyers and sellers, we need to be thinking in this manner, okay? So rates are projected, like we just saw, to go down. What happens when rates go down? More buyers jump back in the market, right? Because now their purchasing power is better. They can buy more house for less because the interest rate is lower. When more buyers jump into the market, what happens to inventory levels? Yes, inventory levels go down. Why? Because you still have low levels of inventory to begin with. That's where we are right now. You have lower rates. Buyers get excited. They jump back in there. Got this little thing going, don't I? They jump back in the market. And the next thing you know, the prices start to increase because you have more buyer demand. So if you are a buyer and you have an opportunity to buy this year, first of all, that is awesome. Congratulations. That is a really huge accomplishment, and you should be very proud of yourself. But if you are timing the market, pay attention to the fact that the lower the rate goes, the higher the price will go. We've already seen that the prediction for prices is that they are going to go up. So if the rates go lower, the price goes higher. Isn't that a song? That's what we're going to start seeing. Inventory levels are going to drop, and that will continually drive prices up. I know a lot of you are thinking, Catherine, you're supposed to be pushing sellers to sell their homes. That's what you do for a living. Well, no, I'm not going to do that. I would say most of my sellers right now are people that are in some sort of a life change. They're either empty nesters, or they're moving to be closer to family. They're moving because they have a job opening somewhere else, or their family is growing. Their family is moving out, and there's only a few of them. So those are the situations I'm seeing with most of my sellers right now. The other group of sellers that I'm seeing are people that have either paid their homes off, which is awesome, or they're close to paying it off, so they have so much equity in their current home. It really doesn't matter if they move now versus the end of the year. And as always, if you've been wondering if it's the right time for you to buy or it's the right time for you to sell, I'd love to hear from you. Give me a call. I'd love to talk about your situation, your circumstance, what your journey is, where you are in life, and let's make sense of what might work best for you, where you are in your life right now. Those of you that are already subscribed to this YouTube channel, you already know when we talk on the phone or we talk in text or however it is we communicate, I'm never going to push you make you feel like you're missing out on something. Now, those of you that really say, hey, Catherine, we trust you. If I don't do thus and such, will I miss out on this particular area, or maybe this particular home in this particular neighborhood? And of course, I'm going to tell you what I think, but I'm always going to back it up with some data so that you can make an informed decision. If that's you and you want to chat, please, I'd love to hear from you. Give me a call. Be happy to speak with you. Be honored to speak with you. I'm Catherine Newman. I hope that you will like and subscribe to this YouTube channel so I can keep information coming at you. And if you have any questions that I haven't answered, please leave them in the comments below. I'm Catherine. I'll see you next week.